Hi, I'm Scott, and this is the 80 Thursdays Project. I play a lot of games. I play them by myself, with my family, and online. A lot of my time I dedicate to playing games. And a couple of years ago I wanted to start taking note of all the games I played throughout the year. So I started a list. This list recorded every game that I played throughout the year. The good, the bad, and the just okay. And a couple of words describing my time playing them. Everything from big AAA games like Red Dead and BioShock to small mobile games like Hole.io, which doesn't even have sound but is still fun to play. I didn't have any idea if I would do anything with this list. I just thought it would be kind of fun to look back on what I played throughout the year and each game I played. This eventually morphed into me taking some simple notes on each game and then wanting to see if there was anything I could learn from these games and to encourage my critical thinking on games in general, which ultimately will help me design my game. So you can see why this is relevant to my project and isn't just me getting distracted. Anyway, out of the list of this year's games, I made a short list of my favorites. These games really stood out to me this year. Games like Stardew Valley, Alto's Adventure and Alto's Odyssey, Celeste, The Witness, Nintendo Labo, Hollow Knight, Marvel's SpiderMan, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Gardens Between, Mini Metro, Bacon, BioShock, Trials HD, Superhot, The Last Station, Overcooked 2, Bridge Builder Portal, and Super Mario Party. All of these games stood out to me this year. Not because they were huge critical successes or anything like that, just because I really enjoyed playing them. Out of this short list, I did want to highlight a few of these and tell you why they stood out. I've been wanting to play Mini Metro since its release in 2015 on Steam, and especially when it released on iOS the following year. This is a beautifully simple game with a UI based on the London Underground, which works perfectly well with a train management theme. Here you're tasked with keeping the various train lines moving and transporting the passengers, which are represented as shapes, from each station to another. It sounds very simple at first, and to be honest it is. But as you play, more stations start popping up and you have to either add them into one of your existing lines or start a new line which can tie into an already established line. You have to create a network of lines in order to be successful. What can start off as a relatively relaxing playthrough, emphasized by the simple and clean UI, can develop into a frantic and stressful rush to keep the passengers moving. A pressure which is emphasized by the tick-tock of the station, which gets louder the more full it becomes, until eventually another example of chilled out and relaxed gameplay. Here the player is set upon an island with a series of ever more complex puzzle mazes. And that's it. No cutscenes, no overlying UI, nothing. There is a story hidden within the various areas of the island, but it's entirely optional and can be missed entirely. When you first start playing, it feels like there can't be a lot to this primary mechanic, but as you wander around the island, you discover some very clever interpretations of this idea. Like the ones where you have to listen to the sounds of the birds, which reflect the waveform type mazes layout, or the layered mazes, which only make sense if you complete them in the right order, or, my personal favourite, the hidden mazes, which require the player to look at them from a certain angle. What can seem like an obscure round stone can be the beginning of a path when viewed from above. This is an example of taking one mechanic or an idea and developing it as far as it can possibly go. It is also a great game to play with your partner or a friend and work together on, something I think more games could do. Here's a title which completely flew under my radar until it was announced as a free Xbox Live game. Another example of simple mechanics and simple design working together to tell a story. I'm actually going to do a separate video on this where I'll be going into more details, so we'll move on from this one. Bacon. The weird iOS game from developer Philip Stollenmayer, sorry if I butchered that, is the third in his series of food-based games, and has you flipping bacon on top of things. That's it. Forever. This takes the idea of simple mechanics to a whole different level. All that is required of the player is to tap the screen to flip the bacon up and onto more and more unexpected and offbeat objects. It sounds like this would get dull very, very fast, and if you were playing it for more than 10 minutes at a time, that might be the case. This is designed to be played in very, very short bursts. Sitting on a bus? Flip some bacon onto some ice cream. You have 2 minutes while you're waiting for the kettle to boil? Flip some bacon onto the head of Sir Francis Bacon, the philosopher, to pass the time. The simple controls, simple design, and simple sounds all work together to keep this wonderfully weird game engaging, even if it is only for a couple minutes at a time. Games like Hollow Knight seem to have gone through a bit of a renaissance in 2018. The Metroidvania is a term as old as the original Metroid on the NES, and this legacy can be seen throughout Team Cherry's game. This layered and diverse world is brought to life with a wonderful art style that at first seems overly simple, but contains a lot of nuance and subtlety which only pulls you further and further into the story and the world of the Forgotten Kingdom. Coupled with the spot-on mechanics and the hard but fair enemy design, Hollow Knight is a game which deserves to be played from start to finish. I have really enjoyed playing Hollow Knight this year, and I look forward to exploring its depths more in 2019. The third-person action-adventure is a genre which has reigned supreme in 2018, with games like GTA 5, which I know came out in 2013, but it's still being played like it just came out yesterday, God of War, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Insomniac's latest title, SpiderMan, on the PlayStation 4. When I talked about this game in a previous video, I talked about the movements and control of Spider-Man, so I won't go over that again. Another, less discussed aspect of the game is the design and detail of the open world. Based on a sizable chunk of New York City, the designers really took their time and crafted a truly lived-in and vibrant playground. NPCs call out to Spider-Man as he swings past. Trash and debris from the lives of the inhabitants of NYC gather in the corners of the streets, just like they do in real life. Cars, buses, and trains all travel around with people getting on and off. Crimes will take place throughout the different areas which you can choose to intervene in, but you can also choose to ignore. All of this works together to build the world and create immersion, and really makes you feel like Spider-Man. This is a game that needs to be played to appreciate properly. This takes the brutal and unforgiving platforming of a title like Super Meat Boy and builds on the formula. This is all about precision platforming, understanding the limits of the jump arc, and becoming so familiar with the controls and the mechanics that it becomes second nature. This is one of the most rewarding games I played in 2018. I would spend hours, literally hours, trying to crack a level, when finally I could perfect my path and make it across the screen. This game can be punishing but never unfairly. If you didn't make that jump, it wasn't because the game was unfairly designed or threw an unbalanced set of obstacles at you, it was because you weren't good enough yet. You needed to practice more and you would want to. On top of that, the story is not just some background noise, it was genuinely moving and sought to contribute some positivity in the world, something very rare in games. Finally, we have what many would consider Game of the Year for 2018. Red Dead is a very special type of game that, like Rockstar's previous game GTA 5, represents how far you can push games. Not only just in gameplay, but with story development and character design. I will be dedicating a whole video to this once I finish the main story, so look for that in the future. There are many games I wanted to play this year, and many games I played but didn't have time to talk about just now. As I go into 2019 and start a new list, I want to see how this year's games will impact my design processes. What can I learn from them? What are they trying to say? And most terrifyingly of all, how will I compare? I have been Scott, thanks for watching.